Hello, one and all, and welcome to the first episode of High Talks, where we're on a higher level. We talk about everything and anything. And this isn't just our podcast, this is our not
Yeah,
it's our
our
podcast.
podcast.
Yeah, so it's not just me and Kat's podcast. You're also a big part of this podcast. So we do lots of interviews. Make sure your voice is heard in the comments because in future videos we'll also use that. So follow us on socials as well. Once we got the socials sorted out, we're talking about if you have to take the vaccine.
Yeah, no, if it's okay to reject getting the
Yeah, if
vaccine.
it's okay to reject getting the vaccine. And yeah,
Let's talk a little bit about how we know each other.
okay.
We know each other through actually my work. So I work at the Cube.
Yeah.
And Toby is part of a production team or managing a big creative management team.
Yeah.
And we
Called
met here.
Blood. Shout
Blood.
out James and Bobby and the whole team.
Whole gang. And so we met through this place, and ever since we first met, and the first time we spoke was we were just chatting about random stuff, like big topics. He was asking me like, do you think existence is true, or do you think it's a lie? Big questions like that, like one of the first conversations we ever had. And then ever since then, like we've I feel like barriers broke down quite quickly. Like we always just spoke about mad shit.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
yeah, so then we just thought, like, I was planning on starting a podcast, and then I was like, my mate, like he just couldn't commit to it at this time. So then I was like, who am I gonna do this with? And then when I thought of Toby, I was like,
She was like, "Who's the sexiest person I know?" And then now I'm here. So, but yeah,
okay.
nice. Yeah, we do have really like deeper conversations about things, quite like more meaningful conversations. So I think you chose the right person to team up with this podcast.
Oh, did I know? Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I think I
for
did
sure.
too. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's how we kind of became friends, really, and then you came up with this podcast idea. I think it was a great idea. And
Well, we both thought about like what we were going to talk about, because originally my podcast was going to be about like UK creative culture, so like music, film, all of those things, which we both are still like heavily invested in. But we realized like we do that. I felt like we're so invested in that it's like it's nice to do something that's just a bit more of one of our different interests, like something that can bring two sides of us together.
Yeah, that's true. I think the idea of, because you came up with the idea of podcast, and then I was thinking, we need to make it unique in a way. So that's where the idea of like asking people and stuff and doing the interviews kind of came into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited
And
for this journey.
Toby has so much like what's it called, experience in like speaking to randomers and stuff, and I have like no experience.
Nah, she's natural like even with no experience, she can just come up to a stranger and just start a conversation as if it's nothing really. So I had to learn it the hard way.
It was so much fun though. Like, so that's why like once we did that, like it just felt like, oh my god, we have to do this podcast. Like, it just felt so good speaking to all of you and getting your thoughts on these questions and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, this is how we're here basically. So full circle now.
So how's your week been?
Yeah, it's been okay. It's been good. Just grinding uni and that. It's quite interesting actually, because I'm liking my course more than I expected to like it. I was thinking it was gonna be quite boring, but they've made it quite interesting. Like there's a lot that goes into managing a business, and we kind of have fun with certain topics as well. Like they were saying, come up with a marketing plan for this business. And then this guy basically proposed the alcohol equivalent of a drug business in an Arabic country.
Oh my gosh.
Because obviously alcohol is illegal in some Arabic countries for religious reasons.
Oh, so he was proposing an illegal alcohol market?
Yeah, but what made it so interesting was the teacher took it seriously. Like she was looking into the marketing mix and and the pestle plan for it, and like she was like, "Oh, how do you work? How did it work? Oh, is this going to be like a member kind of model of?" It was so fascinating. It
Ooh.
was interesting.
Oh my
So I might
gosh.
start my own drug business based on the information.
You're like straight on the first flight to Qatar. It's like, where's Toby gone? What's he doing?
The only risk is if I get caught, I might get my head cut off. But you know, no risk, no reward.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
you have to grind.
tell
You have
him.
to.
Yeah.
What
Oh,
about your week? How has your week been?
my week has been crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I've had some mad. I lost my phone.
Okay.
And it was like the weirdest day. Like I I was leaving this person, this meeting I was at, and I there was no way for me to get home. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll book an Uber. Look on Free Now I used, and it was £2.30 for like a 20-minute train cab journey. And I was like, okay, that's weird, but
Wow.
like let me book that right now.
Yeah.
And then I get in that cab. I'm a little bit tipsy. And then the guy's like I asked for a charger and the charger's really short, so I put my phone in like the pocket of the seat.
Hmm.
And then I was like telling myself, remember to take your phone, remember to take your phone. I get into my house and I realize I left my phone. So then I was like contacting the driver. I'm getting it back. Thank fuck.
Good.
Monday I'll be getting my phone back, hopefully. But yeah, so that happened. My shoes got ruined because I spilt like a liter of paint over them. Well, I spilt it,
What was
but
you doing
like
with paint and being tipsy? Or
no, it wasn't on the same. It
oh,
was the
okay,
day
okay,
before. Yeah, so it was
okay.
the day before. There was a liter of paint. No, there was like a 3-liter can of paint or something, and the lid wasn't properly on. So when I picked it up, because it's heavy, you like tilt it to the side, innit? So you can get your hand
Ah,
underneath, and
yeah.
it just all over my shoes, purple paint all over my brown shoes.
Oh no.
And yeah,
Oh, they don't even go together. Wait,
no,
do purple and brown?
not
No.
this kind of. It was suede shoes, like the
Ah,
bright purple. It was not good, but yeah.
R.I.P. those shoes.
And then so I wake up the day after I lose my phone and I'm like, you know what? I feel like the full moon is coming. Like, so I asked my friend at work when I get in, I'm like, can you check when the next full moon is? She's like, it's today. It was literally an hour after that she checked. It was an hour before that it was the full moon. And this happens to me like almost every month. I'm like, some mad shit happens and I'm like, the full moon is close and it's within the next 48 hours.
Is that more of a star sign thing, or is it like a?
I think it's because like I am very aware of that stuff, but also because I'm a Cancer, so because we're like very driven
Oh,
by
you're
the
a Cancer.
moon.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
a Cancer too.
Yeah, you didn't know?
No, I didn't know that. Okay.
Mad, yeah.
Makes sense why we get a lot. But I'm not even into a star sign thing, but it feels like nowadays you just end up kind of low key believing in it in
Yeah,
some
you got
aspect.
to. You got to. And I was having this conversation with someone recently actually. They told me that the first like calendar that humans came up with
Hmm.
was 28 days. And they were like, "Why do you think that is?" And they were like, "Because it's a female calendar. Like it's because the lunar cycle is 28 days and a female cycle is 28 days. So the world
Ah,
is run around this 28 days idea." And
mm,
like the ebb and flow of water and stuff like that, all of the elements, they run on this. But a masculine calendar was implemented because of patriarchy,
hmm.
and that's why we run on 30, 31 because it fits like mathematically into our year rather than naturally like reflects how our bodies work and how the world works and stuff like that. So
Okay.
it's really interesting. Like the Ethiopian culture runs off of a lunar cycle, so they're in, I don't even remember what year it is, but they're like 6 years behind us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's interesting. I always
yeah,
feel like like I've heard that apparently a full moon does affect people's psychology, but it was something I read ages ago, so I don't even know the source or how accurate that is. But I'm sure there is some truth to it because you know
100%.
the moon does affect the bodies of water and things like that, so it must affect our bodies as well.
We're 98% water,
That's
no?
true. So
Exactly.
it must have some effect on us.
Ebbing and flowing all day.
Yeah, so that's our week. Okay.
Yeah, that was my week.
We both had interesting weeks then.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, the topic at hand, let's start off with the vaccine. Should we be allowed to reject the vaccine?
Okay.
Um, what do you think?
Well, like, short answer, should we be allowed to reject the vaccine? Yes. Like, out of like human rights, free will, you should be allowed to say no to getting the vaccine.
Mm,
And personally, I had the first one and I'm not getting the second one. Like, because before I already had my doubts and I was like, I don't want to get I just didn't want to get it. And then obviously life got harder. The government's telling you at the end of September this is gonna happen and da, da, da. And I work in, like, technically I work in hospitality. So in my mind, I was like, how are you going to, like, are you gonna fire everyone in the hospitality industry if they don't get the vaccine? Because now it's the law that you can't go into a pub or whatever in
Mm.
if you're not vaccinated. So then with that in mind, I went to get my first one. When I left, I had the worst reactions. I felt so shit. I thought I had blood clots. I thought I was like, because I was getting like the weirdest pains all over my body. My right leg was going numb. Like it was so weird. So me personally, like I'm thankful that I can say no to getting it. But who knows, in the future the government might make it so difficult that I will have to get it. But if well, that's the thing. If I die, it's like I can't even get compensation. Like I'm dead. Like it's
Yeah.
so annoying.
My view on it is, I guess, similar-ish to yours as well. It's just like, I don't, I don't necessarily have the most trust in the government. I think this whole COVID thing, they've made us distrustful. One minute it's like, yeah, don't wear a mask, it doesn't help anyway. We need it for the NHS stuff, which is a contradiction within itself.
Yeah.
Then they're like, oh, you need a mask and you should wear. There's one point where they're like, you need to wear two masks.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, okay, that might as well wear two condoms while we're at it. But it's just like, and then then the story about how the vaccine, the not the vaccine, how the virus started. That some guy
Yeah.
in China ate a bat, but at
Yeah,
the
but that
same
was bollocks.
yeah, because most likely it came from a lab, and now there's more and more evidence supporting that. And within a few months, we're gonna be like, yep, it came from a lab.
I thought that was confirmed
It,
already.
they're still trying to placate
Is
it,
it?
but yeah, but we was told, no, no, that's not true. You can't even think about it. You can't write about it on the internet. Everything was kind of just built in a way for us to distrust them. They weren't letting us freely discuss topics that matter. I've seen interviews on TV where a guy will come with a counter opinion and they'll cut off his mic. I'm like, well,
No!
how can I
Well,
trust you if you're not even open to dissenting opinions?
that's
Do you get what I
standard,
mean?
isn't it? But, like,
So,
yeah, that we're used to this.
so what's happened is that lots of people now distrust the government, distrust especially younger people, because I think the older people are more likely to kind of toe the line and just like do what
Well,
is
this
said,
is
while
the
younger people are a bit more rebellious with it.
No, 100%. But the thing is as well is that what the way that I always saw the vaccine is like you like you get a vaccine. Boys don't get the HPV vaccine. Girls get it because
Mm,
it could lead to cervical cancer. So
mm,
it's like if the risk is there, then you get a vaccine for it.
yeah,
Why are young people? There was this thing of like there was a poster I remember. This shout out to No Hun. He's on Instagram or whatever, but he's so jokes. He talks about like political like viewpoints, but he like uses comedy to get his point across and stuff like that. But
yeah,
he did this he showed a poster that was like 2 in every 1 million child will die of COVID or something like that. And they were like, he was like, well, that seems pretty fucking low to me. So why are you making all of the kids get vaccinated? Like that makes no
yeah,
sense. So like, how is this going to be beneficial to them if it's kind of redundant being in your body? Why are you going to put excess stuff into your body? So
yeah,
older generation and people with like life-threatening illnesses and stuff like that, then yes, of course, get the vaccine because you are at risk. Like,
mm,
but why are you making me, a fit, healthy person who actually had COVID and was fine? Well, no, I was very sick. But you get sick. People get sick. It's like
yeah,
I'm building up my immunity. Now the second time it's not going to be as bad and did it even though there's all these variants and stuff like that.
mm,
But why maybe that's because of all of this vaccinating you're messing with the chemical balance of the DNA of
yeah,
the virus.
yeah.
So
I and like I like to look at both sides of the arguments when it comes to things, which some people won't like me for, but I feel like you can't have discussions about things seriously without exploring both sides. And I've looked at the people who are like, yeah, get the vaccine side of it. And their argument is that, yeah, like the vaccine does seem to lower the spread of the virus. It seems to mean if you do catch it, you're less likely to have more severe symptoms that could lead
mm,
to death, and especially for vulnerable people. So it does have its benefits, even for people who aren't in that vulnerable group, because they're less likely to then catch it and pass it to people who are in the vulnerable group.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that's where the discussion becomes quite interesting for me, because at what extent do we say that my I should be limited, or I should be forced, or my freedoms should be compromised, let's say, for the benefit of someone else,
Yeah.
someone's safety, someone's health and livelihood. To
Yeah.
what extent do we make that compromise?
Okay, so this is one thing that like kind of got to me because people was you see in America there were all of those like protests about like, oh, my rights are being taken away because I can't fly and because I can't go to bars and I can't do this. I was like, guys, if someone didn't invent that, that would never be a right to you anyways. It's a
Mm,
privilege first and foremost. Like the thing is I can 100% understand the government being like, we can't go out, lockdown, all of this, because to me, it's like we're this was given to you by the economic standpoint of your country, by the what's the word, capitalistic nature of your country. That's why
mm,
you have these benefits and stuff like that,
mm,
which I'm not saying that like, oh, that's a pro, but I just mean that is the way that we live in. So if we live in this society, why do you think that it can't be taken away from you when it was given to you in the first place? You didn't figure out how to fly a plane or how to build a plane even. So like this kind of like, you know people are just so comfortable with their lives now that I think that they don't understand. 100 years ago, we were dealing with like people were they had to be locked up too.
mm.
Like what I don't remember
The
what plague it was. Spanish
Spanish flu,
influenza.
yeah,
It happened. Like this shit happens, and I'm sure that they weren't as whiny as we are. But
mm,
the vaccine is like that is that's a human right. You're putting something into my body. What are you gonna do? Strap me down to a table and put the vaccine in my body?
yeah.
Like that's scary. That's
Yeah,
scary. That like
that's where the challenge is for me, because I do believe in freedoms and rights, and that also means extends to companies, that companies have the freedoms and rights to discriminate based on who they provide their services for. But also there's we do have laws that limit how much discrimination that companies can have.
mm,
Like for example, a company can't be like, oh, I'm not going to serve you because you're gay or because you're black. So
yeah.
for me, where the vaccine becomes a problem is that, are we gonna say that companies can now discriminate on medical basis? So that's the challenge. Can the airlines say, oh, because you don't have the vaccine that you shouldn't be able to fly? But at the same time, I get, oh, but you're a risk to other passengers. So
Yeah, because
it's
that's
a
like saying like, oh, you're not allowed to fly because you have measles or
yeah,
chickenpox or something like that. Yeah, of course you're not allowed to fly because you're gonna infect other people.
yeah,
But I mean, like at the same time, like obviously, okay, I've said that I'm not gonna get it. If planes start telling me you can't use our services because you're not vaccinated, it is a difficult one
it
because
is
I would be
challenging.
pissed off, but I understand that like if that's their viewpoint and if they're gonna stand by that. But then again, as we said, it's the government. Like, they've got pockets in each company or whatever. Because the government have said like, oh, do this, they're
Mm,
gonna be like, yeah, no, we're not gonna let. I'm sure the person who owns Virgin or whatever, I should know his name, but I don't. But I'm sure that he doesn't really give a fuck if the people on his planes are vaccinated or not. But
mm,
because Bojo was like, oh yeah, these are the rules,
yeah.
it's like, okay, cool, we're gonna implement these rules.
That is true. There is a lot of government pressure on these companies, and I don't think that's right either. And I think, well, to be fair with this COVID situation, the UK has handled it well compared to other countries when it comes to balance of freedoms. Like, because I'm hearing in France that you can't do shit without a vaccine, so they're basically
Oh
like
yeah.
mandating it. But this government was weird that one stage like you can't go to lectures without a vaccine.
Is
I'm
it
like,
what
yeah,
uni?
yeah. They were say so. What they were saying is they were going to implement it. It was the same with the nightclub thing, and I think these motherfuckers think they're smart because they could lie to us, which
Mhm.
is further making distrust these motherfuckers, because it's like, oh
When
yeah,
I
am I allowed to? Are we swearing?
I've been swearing, yeah.
Okay, for fuck's sake, fuck you guys for that, because that's bullshit. We need to trust our government. The government is meant to serve the people, not manipulate and lie and deceive the people. Like you can't blatantly do manipulative shit like that and be like, "Well, trust our vaccine." That doesn't make sense.
Literally, I remember like how naive I was at the beginning of all of this. Like I was so like I was asking everyone like, "Guys, are you not aware of the fact that after September it's going like you have to be vaccinated to go anywhere? Like are you
Yeah.
not conscious of this?" And then like everyone's being chill about it. I think I'm going crazy. I should have known like halfway through September. I'm like, no, halfway through August. I'm
Mm,
like, no data's like no info's come out for the public to know about the rules that are going to be implemented at the end of September or at the beginning of September. I don't remember when it was, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And nothing's come out. I should have known then that they were chatting shit because
Mm,
at the beginning, like I was so convinced that like no, this is gonna happen. I was telling everyone like this is gonna happen.
mm.
I should have known that it wasn't gonna
It
happen.
was
And now I promise you, I'll never trust them again. Like it's instilled this hatred for them.
Yeah.
I fucking took one dose of it because he said that.
Yeah.
I'm not
It's
doing that again.
they they're just not doing things to make you trust them. And then they're surprised why people don't trust them. Oh, trust the science. And not to bring this to black people, race and all of that, but one year where like, black people have a distrust for the government that's rightfully so because they have a history of the government, medicine, using them, um, mistreating them,
Yeah.
giving them a substandard level of medical care. And then the next year, we're like, well, if you don't take the vaccine, well, you're stupid.
Mm.
Well, the stats are saying minority groups are less likely to take the vaccine. So you people can't one minute be posting black screens saying Black Lives Matter, and then the next minute the same group of people have this problem that you said you understood, and you're like, well, I don't understand where you come. Don't just trust the science. No, science isn't a religion. It is like a thing that is debated upon, and
And this is the thing as well, is that Boris Johnson has multiple times been shown to have ignored the scientists that are researching the COVID,
but yeah,
crisis. So it's like you're telling me trust the science at the same time denying the science. So
yeah.
why am I going to listen to you?
Yeah.
Like,
Do you remember when he was like, he was like, "Oh yeah, I went to a hospital with COVID patients and I shook everyone's hands." He was so proud
and then
about
I swear,
it.
like 2 weeks later, he had COVID.
Yeah, man was dying at one point. He was like, "Oh shit."
And then he came out and was like, "Wear your mask,
Yeah.
don't touch people." Da, da, da. Okay, cool.
So yeah, so now it's time. This is hopefully gonna be my favorite parts of, well, it is going to be my favorite parts, getting what the general public thought on the subject. So
Yeah,
let's start reacting
I'm
to
so
some
excited for this.
people's. Should we be allowed to reject getting the vaccine?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what about the fact that puts other people at risk and makes people might catch it from
I
you
don't
if
think
you
you
don't
can
have
force people to put a vaccine in their arms. However, I think you can make it very difficult for them to choose that.
it. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, things like you can't go to nightclubs or festivals.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think you have to say, yeah, I agree with mandating, okay, you want all your stuff to be vaccinated, for example, because of interest in public health. Doesn't mean you have to get the vaccine, but it does mean, you can't perhaps attend this festival or work in this place if you haven't been vaccinated.
Yeah, I disagree with that. Um, and I just disagree with that as a. But I see the point. It's just so hard this situation because I could see a company, going, okay, we might lose customers, so we want all our employees to be vaccinated, so people aren't scared to come because they might catch the virus. But if you're that scared of the virus, stay at home, lock yourself in a bunker or something. Yeah, I mean, like it's a bit weird to force people to do things, especially when it's like when people who are healthy have no risk of it basically, and the people who have other health problems like obesity seems to be a big link. But you never everyone's still on this buzzy positivity thing even after COVID, but that's a different discussion. But like certain factors that make people more at risk, and maybe people we could talk more about things people can do to prevent that. Age, obviously you can't really make yourself younger, but I know the discussion is more focused on making
Mm,
healthy people make compromises
mm.
instead for making people who have certain unhealthy lifestyles. make compromises to be healthy.
Yeah.
So that's where I don't really like it. But I see both sides. It's
Oh, but
hard. I don't know.
but unhealthy though. Are these people unhealthy? They have either life-threatening diseases or they're old. That's not really their fault.
Yeah, but there's some people who have like there's
Like
people
an
that it's
obese
not their
child,
fault.
okay, cool, yeah, you need to,
Yeah,
but that's a very small
sm-
fraction of the people who.
it's increasing. Like there's a lot of
Oh
people.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
especially.
cool. No,
But
you know what it
yeah.
is? I think it's probably that the the unhealthy people are the ones that are still going out and getting it and stuff like that. But older people and people with life-threatening diseases, like my friend's got like lupus, and the moment it came out, she was lock off. You couldn't
Mm,
see her. Like her family, like she stayed safe. But then there's people who like as we're saying, like unhealthy people maybe that are putting themselves at risk
at
and
risk.
prolonging the situation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what I didn't like that he said was what he was like, uh, it's the work thing that I don't like. Nurses don't even have to get vaccinated, and they don't have to disclose if they're vaccinated or not to their patients and stuff like that. The amount of nurses that I've met that have said like I am not getting it, or like until it's had further research, basically. So it's like if a nurse doesn't have to be vaccinated, why does a waitress have to be vaccinated, or or a
I
bartender?
thought
It's
the
like
nurses were meant to be
that's what I
vaccinated.
thought too, but
Oh,
they don't have
really?
to be. So that's why I'm like, I am sorry, but you can tell me I can't go out. You can tell me I can't do this. But if you want to make money a necessary object in my life, then you have to let me work. I got my
Mm,
job. I did everything I needed to do. Just because I'm not vaccinated, now you're gonna say I can't work.
yeah.
Like that should be vaccination shouldn't be something that's disclosed to your employer, is
But
my opinion.
what people argue on the other side is that there's other vaccines that are required for things as well that we already have.
Like
Like
what?
for example, there's for example, to be in school you have to have certain vaccines to actually be able to attend school.
Really?
Yes, I don't know
What?
the which vaccines, but there's certain vaccines you need to
No,
attend
but there's
school
certain
basically.
vaccines that like if we're talking about like, chicken pox, these kind of big ones, it's because they are life threatening, like to anyone and everyone. Whoever
Yeah.
gets it, and you're done. Like this
Yeah,
isn't.
that's
Yeah, it's not. It's a
COVID isn't
completely.
this. Yeah, that's
It's
the
not the
thing.
same.
COVID's not
It's
the
a
same.
flu. It's a flu. Who like? It's not mandatory to get the flu jab
Yeah,
every year. Like it doesn't. It actually doesn't make sense. And the way that I know that we've been talking about the mistreatment of the government, the mistrust, but the fact that they've been marking down, like any flu case is a COVID case on
oh,
their stats
yeah, yeah,
is absolutely a joke. And then
yeah.
now I've literally so many people around me have been like, oh, it's not COVID, but I've got like, I'm starting to get a chest infection or or something like that. And I'm
Mm,
like, yes, I'm so happy that people are starting to get back to normality where we're not just afraid of coughs anymore because it could be anything. And like,
yeah,
we need to accept the fact that yes, people will be sick. And unfortunately, we're not in fucking Black Mirror where you can see people's genetics breakdowns
yeah,
and know if they're sick or not. Like, you just have to, babies should you should get sick. Like, I just don't understand where
yeah. That's how
everyone
you
got so
build your
scared.
immune system. The interesting thing is though, the people that COVID seems to kill was the same people that flus seem to kill as well. And it is interesting, as you say, we went from flus killing a certain number, and then all of a sudden COVID came and flus seems to be killing barely anyone. So it's and yeah, and to further make the distrust is they moved the goalposts so many times with what we should care about when it comes to COVID. One minute they're talking about deaths, then they're talking about cases, then they're back to deaths. Then it's like they're moving the goalpost on things, and I think I saw one interesting debate on Good Morning Britain. They have interesting debates sometimes where it seemed the presenters or the person arguing for vaccines and lockdowns and things like that just wanted to be in constant fear of COVID inevitably. Like there's no point where we go, yep, people are gonna die
Mm.
from COVID, and that's something we're gonna have to accept to live as human. Because for me, my saying has been from the start of this, there's no point being alive if you can't live.
Yeah.
That's my saying from it from the start. But it
Mm.
seems people
What,
prioritize
what, what, what?
pro- prioritize living so much, like just being alive, being safe so much that they're afraid to live. And I just don't see the point
Yeah,
in that case. Do you get what I mean?
100%.
And it's like
100.
everyone else must sacrifice so for these vulnerable groups to live. And I understand like it is sad when people die, of course it is, but are we gonna say that to for the safety of old people And obviously there's young people with health conditions.
Yeah.
For this safety, that everyone who does have freedoms and that has a good health should sacrifice everything for I don't think that's fair.
And oh my god, okay, so I remember during the first lockdown or whatever, last point, and then we'll go on to the other videos because we've ripped
true.
into this person. But anyways, I remember I was going out to coffee shops and stuff with my dad because that was our little ritual and that. And we'd go to
Cute.
Cafe Nero. We go to Cafe Nero, and all of these like elderly people are sitting there, and obviously me and my dad were like, "What? Are they not afraid of COVID?" And if you chat to them, they were like, "I've got about 10, 20 years left of living. Are you mad? I'm gonna sit at home for 2 of them. Are you crazy? Like, it's just not happening." So if they don't want to do it, why are we doing it?
Yeah.
Such bollocks on it.
Just if you feel like you should take the vaccine, you should take the vaccine. And if you feel you don't need it, you don't need it. And if you die, I'm sorry, you die. And that's how the cookie crumbles. I could literally walk out this studio today and a car hits me. There's nothing we could have done.
So
you could argue, oh, they should change the law to lower the speed limit, but then no one could get nowhere just to help dickheads like me. It's not. It's
and they
not
would
fair.
never do that because the members of parliament use the same roads as we do. But at the beginning, let's not forget, when they were shutting everything down, government bars and pubs and everything were still open. They were all doing their thing. They were all living life like nothing was wrong. But us, we could stay locked up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and I hated these dickhead celebrities acting like their situation was like mine. Oh, everyone should stay at home. Okay, just play at your tennis court and swim at your pool, and get your waiter to cook your meals. Okay, you don't need to go restaurants. Well, we're all like in fucking 1-bedroom flats, tied up, like sharing with other people. Like, I had beer arguments during the lockdown because I've seen the same dickheads. I love my family, but fuck you guys. But do you get what I mean? It's there's also no compassion for people. It's like, oh, I can handle it, therefore you must.
Yeah.
It's not.
We're not the same. We're really not the same.
Should we be allowed to reject getting the vaccine?
That's a difficult one. So in terms of free will, obviously, your free will would dictate that you are allowed to have that choice. In terms of population as a whole and what's best for a whole entire population, medical science would say that having the vaccine is. However, obviously, whilst there's still studies that say that medical science isn't 100% factual and 100% correct, it's difficult. I think at this moment in time, yes, we should be allowed to reject the vaccine. Whether in the future it doesn't go away, COVID doesn't go away, it keeps coming back because some people are rejecting it and it kills off members of society who are more vulnerable, then there should start to become a mandatory reason for it.
I like what she said there. That's the most reasonable argument I've heard for mandating it. She's saying the science is fresh, it's new. It's not. Some of the vaccines aren't even cleared yet by like certain what's the American group?
FDA.
FDA aren't even. Some of them aren't FDA approved and things like that. So it's fair for people to be able to reject it. But as the science becomes more conclusive and more solid, then there's an argument to mandate it. I think that's a fair argument.
Perfect.
That's a good argument for it. And
in the same sense as you said about the school thing, it's like all of these vaccines have existed for how long?
Yeah.
It's like once COVID has reached to that level, then cool, put it in my kid or whatever. Yeah, sure. Should we be allowed to reject the vaccine? Getting the vaccine?
We are allowed to reject getting the vaccine.
Should we be allowed to?
Sure, free will, right?
And should we be allowed to reject getting the vaccine?
Yes.
Yeah?
I'm pro for that.
Yeah? Is that because of like a free will issue, or you just think you're against the vaccine as a thing?
I just think we should have choices when it comes to our health. And if someone doesn't feel like it doesn't feel right with me, it doesn't feel right in my gut, it doesn't feel right in my heart, and I just don't want to get it, so I don't want to be forced to.
Yeah, I like that. It just some people doesn't feel right for them, and some people will 1 minute be like, my body, my choice, and then next minute be like, no, your body, our choice. So
It's
that's
because she's black. Let's not lie. She's feeling the same thing
thing
that
that we're all yeah.
we're like, I don't trust them. That's it. Should we be allowed to reject getting the vaccine?
Should we be allowed to reject getting the vaccine?
I think you should be allowed to, but
Yeah.
I think you also have a duty to protect people around you.
It's not just you that you're protecting, it's the other people around you that are protecting.
But exactly, as Martina's just said, you just care about your family and your family's family, and obviously your friend's family as well. Like if I go to my friend's family and I've got like coronavirus, but say I've got 2 doses of the vaccine, I might be carrying it, but I'm okay. You might as well like vaccine yourself and you get rid of it.
Right. What about you guys? Do you think we should be able to reject getting the vaccine?
100%.
But
Oh my god.
I see the argument for other people, but yeah, at what extent do I have to sacrifice for others? At what extent should my rights be, my individual rights should be, compromised for the collective safety? It's a debate there.
But this is the thing, is that he was saying, like, at first he started off strong. He's like, okay, it should be a choice, but then you need to think about your duty of care to others. But then he started listing, your family, your friends'
Friends'
family,
family.
where does it end? Like, what, your grandparents, mothers, children's, auntie's dog. Like,
Let's
come
just keep
on.
going.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
even though, like, I like the fact that, we should care about each other,
Yeah.
it is this, like, where does your duty of care go to? And
Yeah.
in the same sense of, like, my dad, like, whenever I'm sick or whatever, he's a bit of a germaphobe, so he will remove himself from me and he will quarantine. Not me. He's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm sick, but he will quarantine quarantine, but in his, stay away from me, in the sense of, like, because he knows that it's his duty of care to look after himself.
Yeah.
If you're so scared, please remove yourself from the situation. Because it's fine. As I said before, like, I get it. Quarantines and lockdowns in a global sense does make sense. But the way that the whole world was doing it is that Italy's doing it one week, UK's doing it the next, India's doing it next. Like, it's cool, but it's not going to get anything done until we all do it together or look after yourself.
And I felt like the way the lockdowns were happening, I felt like it was just prolonging the inevitable. Because then they released us from lockdown. They're like, cases are going up. I'm like, no shit, Sherlock. We knew that would happen.
Exactly.
But then that was the justification to get us into another lockdown. And I'm like, we're just retreating from the enemy. We're never actually gonna face them. Eventually we did, thank God. But
what?
Face
what cases go down?
No, I'm saying eventually they were like, oh, cases are going up, but we can't just keep everyone at home for forever.
People think that there's going to be another lockdown this winter.
Yeah, I saw debates about on the news as well.
Yeah.
And
I don't know, it might happen. If there's another variant, if the Delta variant becomes something else, it will happen.
There's conspiracy people have argued, the vaccine has actually created the variants, but there's not real. I'm not involved in that.
I don't believe that it's created all variants, but I definitely believe that it's exaggerated the effect. Like, if you don't finish your antibiotic treatment, it will come back even worse, and you'll get like super viruses or whatever like that. This is like, if you're not treating it properly, if you're not getting rid of the whole, of the whole problem, let's remember that vaccines are like a little bit of the virus. So it's like, you're putting this thing into your body. If it's not the exact thing that it's meant to do, it's going to cause something else. It's like genetic malfunctions or whatever they're called, like how people got blue eyes instead of green, and brown, brown was the original, and then blue came about.
So the virus kind of adapts based on what's mutating based on
mutations. That's what it is. It's literally the mutations of viruses. So if you keep fucking with it, it's gonna create more stuff. But I don't believe that all variants. I'm sure there would have been variants whether or not we had vaccines.
Yeah, that's
because that's how viruses work. Like,
they do mutate constantly.
Exactly.
That's why there's a new flu jab every year. That's why they're doing this booster jab now, because some people at first, I think people thought you take 2 vaccines and that's it, but they didn't realize that it's a virus. These constantly mutate. So 1 year that vaccine or jab is
But do you
working.
wait?
Then the next year it's adapted, so you have to take a new one based on the new variant.
Is it?
So yeah,
So
that's why
flu
there's
jab changes every year. It's
yeah,
not.
that's
They're
why
not giving you the same one.
no, because it changes the virus. Actually, the
Ah.
virus changes, so each year they give us. But
So
we're
that-
not doctors. That's just so you know.
Disclaimer: we know
Disclaimer.
nothing.
Like I don't know if you came here for medical advice. This ain't the place.
Yeah, like
that's your fault, not ours.
we're only
but-
talking about the vaccine, like for this
yeah,
question.
based on the limited knowledge we have. But
Yeah.
yeah, from what I've understood, that's why every year there's a new flu jab because
Okay,
the
right,
flu
I wasn't aware.
mutates and it goes into someone's body. They have these antibodies, so the flu to survive changes to survive against those antibodies, and then they spread that. And yes,
Right.
but anyway, yeah, I get what he's saying, but I don't know. It's a weird one, and strangely enough, a lot of dictators have used the argument of the collective good to kind of obtain more power, kind of thing. Like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, I have to, dispose of this person for the greater good of other people. So I can see why people are very hesitant against that
Yeah.
argument because it's individual rights are very important for a reason.
Yeah.
So
100%.
anyway, let's continue.
It's like it's your choice. I mean, get it if like I'm double vax, so double vax. So I think that I want to protect myself and the people around me, whatever. But like, I mean, if you have like, it's up to your beliefs. I mean, some people are like,
So you think you should be allowed to have the choice?
It's your choice.
It's kind of bad as well, the fact that they bring the vaccine in and then they say, oh, you can't go to certain countries because you're not vaxxed. You can't go to concerts, you can't go to festivals, and it's like feels kind of pressured, but at the same time it's like they're not exactly telling you like you have to get it done, but you kind of like
making it impossible to live without
it's
it.
like I do want to go on holiday and I do want to go to festivals, so I have to kind of get it done. But
Yeah.
Well, I still stick by what I said, that like all of these things are privileges. Like I don't believe that, someone telling me that I can't fly, it's like I don't own a plane, I don't have a pilot license, I don't have these things, like I didn't make it happen for myself. So I do understand that restriction. So when people complain about like that's why, like, this shouldn't be okay, that's not like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand how people have that thing of like this is a right for me. But it's fair enough, like get the vaccine if that's your worry. Like I still agree that it is everyone's choice. Like if you want to get it, I don't judge you at all. If you don't want to get it, don't get it, I don't judge you at all. But it shouldn't be pressured, it shouldn't be anything like this. But because of the capitalistic nature of our society, if a businessman wants to deny someone access to their venue or whatever because of this, because they're not vaccinated, that's their choice, and I can't say anything because I don't have shares in their company. I'm not his daughter or her daughter or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, I see that argument because that's the contradiction. The people that are like for freedom and rights also have to accept that companies have freedoms and rights. But yeah, the challenge is that a lot of these freedoms and rights are kind of compromised because the government's forcing them to make those forcing them, and that's where I disagree with the government for, because I'm sure a lot of airlines want
100%.
sales in it, and they don't give a fuck if you have vaccine or not. They just want to fill their planes full of passengers
Yeah.
and make as much money as possible. But I think that's where government pressures and rules and regulations are getting involved, and I don't personally agree with that. But it's hard to tell if the airlines are doing it off their own volition as well. It's a sticky one. It's a sticky one.
It's a very sticky one.
But I think the discussion, definitely the media needs to be more understanding because no one can trust them if they're just completely ignoring any other argument against the vaccine, against forcing people to take the vaccine.
But in the same sense as what we said about these businessmen, is that the media is in the government's pocket too. So it's not about the media's,
Yeah.
like you're not allowing people to speak. It all goes back to whatever the government wants put out into the world, whatever propaganda that they want put out. Of course, major media outlets are going to be doing that. That's why, like, I have cultivated my Instagram. I try and put everyone on this. Like, going through your Instagram following and get rid of anyone that like doesn't stimulate your mind, doesn't have the same kind of like thought process as you, or elevates your thought process and stuff. Because now I follow people like Simply Politics and different things that like educate me on a different viewpoint of these things, and will like you make the conscious decision of what you digest, and as long as people are aware of the power that the government holds, then you should still do your extra research into these subjects and stuff like that. And but you're right, like the manipulation is disgusting, and it shouldn't be allowed, it shouldn't be legal. But who are making the laws?
That's true. That is
So
true. But yeah, I do feel like I do agree with like maybe broadening your your influences for things like on social media and things like that, because I do feel people kind of keep themselves in their bubble of either very dumb TikToky quick content, or just their same political bubble of like people that agree with me. You do need to have a balanced perspective on things, and I guess that is now the individual's responsibility, because you can't trust the media. You can't trust the media. Come on, who trusts these motherfuckers? They're just gonna lie to you. They lie all the time, and then they don't give a fuck about it.
And I love what you said about individual responsibility. I think is like the main like thread throughout this, because like it's either your individual responsibility to look after yourself, your individual responsibility if you want to take the vaccine or not, and to what you take in from media and what you don't, what info that you believe in, what you don't. Is all everything that you take into your body, be conscious of. Think about what you're ingesting, digesting. As we said at the beginning, like we definitely believe that this is like, a podcast for all of us.
Like if you don't disagree, we want to hear what you have to say. We don't think you're an idiot for it. You might think we're idiots, and you could educate us. We're not geniuses.
We're not, and all we want is to like inspire conversation. And like, oh my god, I think this is so important to say, is that when we did our first day of interviews, like the reaction that we got from mostly younger women was that like they was terrified to share their opinion. They were like so like, they just felt like invalidated by themselves. Like they just didn't feel
strange as well.
So crazy, because I know like I am quite like, a confident gal in some sense, but it's like, come on, at least like have an opinion. Like don't, I get it, a camera's scary and stuff like that, but it really like upset me, the fact that people don't like have enough confidence to share their opinion and stuff. So all we're trying to do is inspire people to, get talking, get like, we don't trust the media, let's start chatting. Let's start sharing some knowledge.
I agree with that. I think people need to get more involved in the conversation, be open-minded. That's kind of our objective. I know maybe it might have seemed one-sided, but we're saying what we think, and that's why we do the interviews, to hear what people think and their arguments. And I found that strange about because when we asked the guys, they were either like, yes, oh yeah, I got shit to say, or no, I'm too busy. But with the women, it seemed more like if they weren't busy, it was like, oh, I'm not sure. Oh my God. I'm not sure my opinion is valid enough to actually be able to say something. And I thought the whole feminist movement was meant to empower women to raise their voices, to say what their views are on things. And so that confidence needs to be promoted more within, just in general. It's not just women, but it seemed to be a thing specifically for women. So especially girls out there, I want to hear your voices. Like, women have fought too hard, men and women have fought too hard for women to have the freedoms and liberties we have now. And I think women should take more advantage of it. And I want to hear your voices, please. Okay, too many guys on these TVs. Okay, I'm gonna remove my penis, so there's one less guy out there. But yeah, like, tell us what you think, and I don't care if it's stupid. We'll laugh at you and we both learn together. If you think we're stupid, we laugh together and we both learn together. We just need to learn and improve.
Exactly. And I hope no one was offended from the videos by our reactions of what you said.
Yeah, we love everyone that took part.
It's the same, like, if you had us on camera, please rip us apart, rip our opinions apart. Like, we don't ever want to make fun of of who you are. Like, we never want to make you feel bad of who you are. Like, we accept everyone, but your opinions, like, let's discuss. Because our opinions, please, if you disagree, prove us wrong, like,
Yeah.
because we're probably wrong. So
We could be wrong. Yeah, so don't be afraid. And yeah, I think do you know what I don't like about our generation? I think acceptance is deemed as giving people the ability to take liabilities or to treat them differently. That's what acceptance is deemed as. For me, acceptance is you accept who this person is so you could be honest and open with them how you feel. Like, and that might involve calling them a dickhead, but you love them. That's why I don't call you a dickhead if I didn't give a shit about you. So we need to have. Do you get what I mean?
Oh,
You
for
get what I mean?
real, for real, for real, for real.
So
We love you, dickheads.
love you. Should we call them dickheads?
Before we started this episode, we were like, "Oh, what should we call our viewers?" Da, 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 da. I was like, "It will come naturally."
So we're calling you guys dickheads because we're dickheads too. Everyone's a dickhead.
We're all
nowadays.
dickheads. I'm a dickhead. He's a dickhead.
Yeah.
There's a dickhead.
We're gonna remove this dickhead, so there's one less dick. I'll say that I'm bad for that. I'm bad for that.
All right.
But, yeah, that was what's called high talks. You know, we're on a high level. Remember, shoot for the stars, and if you fall, you'll land on the clouds. So
See you next week.
hey.